Bueno, son las 9:30 y vamos a empezar. We're going to begin. Buenos días. ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están todos? ¿Están bien?
Sí,
¿Sí?
bien.
Bueno, es difícil los lunes. It's difficult on a Monday, yeah, to get that brain jump started. Eso es normal. That's normal. I do want to bring up, because this question had come up, so I'm going to do this for the recording, because I know some people are watching later for sure, because they're on the road or in a place where they cannot get Wi-Fi. The question came up. Somebody was registering for the beginner Spanish step 2 class, still on Mondays, no change there for fall. So somebody had a question on fall registration. Fall registration, fall only, is split into 2 fall registrations. 2. Okay, it's a snowbird thing. So if you registered for the step 2 class on Mondays, you need to register both for the class that starts September 12th. And the second part of fall runs from November 7th through like just shortly before Christmas time, holiday season kind of thing. So there are, in fact, 2. If you registered for 1 fall class, that will only take you through the first session. So it's just the way they have that set up. It's a snowbird thing for people who come here later, I should say, in the fall. Okay. I hope that clears it up for everybody. See? Yeah. If somebody told you 1 and done, oh, you're done. There are two classes. Okay. A ver, bueno, vamos a empezar. Today will be a little bit of a mix of a few things. I'm going to start with a little answer to a question from one of our videos. We'll finish up we're going to finish up our last bit of the impersonal. So I'm going to show you, if you printed it off, which section you will need to pull up either as a file, or if you like to print stuff up to find that. Oh yeah, it's the second half, right? We did these, which were se expressions. Se cierra el museo a las 5. Se observa la naturaleza en el parque, etc. We did the first half of that. We're going to finish up our se impersonal with these. So the very last slide of that file, you will need to have that handy soon. We'll do a little bit more practice with some of these shortened pronouns and explain a little more about those. I want to explain one other use of se, which is something we'll do in a little more controlled kind of practice, because quite often, just because of context, it requires that you use verbs in past, which all of you are not necessarily doing. So this will be a special use of se that often, most of the time, tends to use past tense verbs. It's called the unintentional, or the accidental, or the unintended events use of se, and we'll do that. And then we're going to throw in a couple of other kind of, tag on subjects, I hope. Okay, bien. And any other questions you have, of course, always, siempre. Bueno, vamos a empezar. Oh, how many of you watched the fun little storytelling video about the frog? La rana. La rana. La rana. Actually, the building he was showing you, the facade, la fachada. La fachada quiere decir facade. The facade is a fancy architectural term meaning the front side of a building, which is usually, well, doesn't have to be, but it often might be ornately carved. But the front entrance, la fachada. So the facade of the building, the one he showed you is actually a very, very famous, it's a place I haven't been, but it's a very famous place. It is la Universidad de Salamanca. It is from the University of Salamanca. And if you were really listening carefully, you will notice every time he used the word la rana, there was a little noise. That was not, that was not you getting tinnitus. That was him doing a little joke every time he had, ¿dónde está? So, the question was, ¿dónde está la rana? Where is la rana? This is such an ornately carved thing.
He said we won't have any luck if somebody points it out to us now.
I'm not, lo siento. I am sorry. Well, I think, however, on his scan of the building, because I looked at it very closely, I don't think he zoomed in close enough for you to see. So we're going to show you, because of course the question always is then, well, pues, ¿dónde está la rana? Well, after all that, where is that frog? And rana is always a rana, even though we know there have to be male and female frogs. Well, rana is frog. Okay. La rana está aquí. Here's where the little rana is, but I'm going to show you a different picture that will show you why it is hard. La rana, the frog, is sitting on top of a skull. Oh, la calavera. It's right on top of la calavera, the skull, one of the skulls that lines it. La rana está aquí. It's right up here. So it's a tricky little thing. And there are all kinds of little, medieval era conspiracy theories about how some of these carvings were designed to give glory to the rulers of Spain, and some of the carvings are designed to stick it to the Inquisition. So how much of that is true, I don't know. Probably, if you were going to criticize the Inquisition, you had to be pretty covert about doing it in those days. Or was the rack for you?
I guess we should all go buy a Powerball ticket now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it was kind of tough to see it. I don't think he really zoomed in close enough, but it is one of those little fun things that the students do there. Every university has some kind of weird legend of what happened on campus, or what you do for good luck. Ours had that, and it wasn't anywhere near as old as that one. Okay. A ver, muy bien, vamos a pasar, we're going to go straight ahead to our impersonal say, and we're going to do just a quick, maybe 2-minute review of what this say impersonal means, so we kind of refresh your memory. Because who knows? I have no idea what part of the week you did that in when you could fit it in. But this is the say that always uses say, and it is called impersonal because it does not talk about any one specific person doing the action of the verb, but it always gets a third person singular or sometimes a third person plural verb. It really looks back at the thing that is being done, like se habla español. The thing being spoken is Spanish. And because that's singular, español, we just use habla, singular, se habla español. Spanish is spoken. This is also sometimes called actually, this is the preferred way conversationally for people to use what we call passive voice. Because Spanish does not like to actually use passive voice at all. So sometimes it's called the say impersonal. It is also a thing that we in English use as what we call a passive voice sometimes. Se dice lata para can, tin en español, okay. Se usa la cuchara, una cuchara para comer la sopa. We use a spoon to eat soup. Plural. Un ejemplo plural Se hacen vinos muy finos en Francia. They make fine wines in France. Fine wines are made in France. And that fine wines are made is what we call a passive voice. The wines aren't making anything. They are being made, right? And that is what we call passive voice, when the subject of the sentence, so wines there, aren't actually doing the action. They are being acted upon. Okay. And Spanish does have what they call a true passive voice, but actually, unless you're in really kind of formal writing, it isn't used very much. Well, it's not, let me put it this way. It is used, it is used in formal writing, but true passive voice in Spanish gets a different structure than what you see with the se, and it is very much not used conversationally. The formal passive voice, not used conversationally at all. English uses passive voice a lot, and probably as a student in school, if you were in university at the right time, they probably told you, hey, you know, when you're writing, try to shift out of passive voice in your writing. Can you drop some of that? So even sometimes in English, they're trying to downplay it, but we use it a lot in English and they don't in Spanish. They do, however, use this se structure quite a lot. It is super, super common. So let's see if we can translate these things into some se impersonal ideas. You can learn a lot when you listen. Ooh, and we want to emphasize the you can.
Se
Se
aprende.
puede.
Se puede.
Se puede. Se puede
Se
aprender.
puede. Se puede. Aprender
Aprender
mucho.
mucho
Oh, when you
escucha,
listen, meaning anybody,
cuando
Se
escucha,
escucha.
cuando se escucha. So this use of se as an impersonal se is, in fact, not frowned upon. It is favored. People do use this quite a lot. And it just means you're emphasizing that action, not who does it, because you're not really focusing, you know, who does it means anybody could do it. So, okay, you enter here.
Se entra aquí.
entra aquí,
¿Sí?
Se entra aquí.
se entra aquí.
Oh, and you know what? I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I did leave aprender up there. Uy, perdón. If we left off the puede, we could also say this as what? Se
Se aprende.
aprende. Yeah, because I gave you aprender and I realized, oh my gosh, yeah.
That's what I had, and I thought I was wrong.
No,
Yeah.
you're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay either way. You're okay either way. Yeah, but I realized I put a can in there. Yeah. So, you know, if you said that either way, it's good. Okay. So let me backtrack and kind of correct myself. Se puede aprender, se aprende bien. Either one is good. Okay. Se entra aquí, or, you know what? People may even say it, se entra por aquí. They might even say it as por aquí. Por aquí is a little more like saying around here or through here, right? So that may be expressed as either por aquí or just aquí. Ooh, drinking alcohol is forbidden. Oh, and you know what? I messed up on this one too. God, I messed up on two.
Oh.
I messed up. My
That
mistake.
helps on that.
I was going too fast and not thinking, and I was looking at the drinking. Yeah,
That makes sense
and
now.
I was
Yeah.
and I was messing up. Oh
Se
yeah,
prohíbe.
I was looking at the front end of the sentence and not the half. Okay, so I messed up your prompt.
It's okay.
Drinking alcohol
Se
is
prohíbe.
forbidden.
So
Mm.
prohíbe.
Se
Beber.
prohíbe.
Prohíbe.
Se prohíbe
Se prohíbe beber alcohol.
beber. Alcohol, ¿sí?
I didn't know any difference.
Okay, yeah. So I messed up your prompt, perdón. My fault. Se prohíbe beber alcohol. And prohíbe has to be singular because we're talking about an action, kind of like when you use gustar, yeah? Me gusta beber alcohol. I like to drink alcohol. It would be me gusta beber. And here it has to be se prohíbe a beber. Se prohíbe. Okay.
So can you say se bebe alcohol es prohíbe?
No, you
No,
cannot.
cannot say that
So
because
I looked at the drinking and I very, very quickly typed that and did not give you the right verb for your prompt. So that's my fault.
so cannot say that. Okay.
No. You could say es prohibido beber alcohol. Es prohibido. That would be a true passive voice, but it isn't used that much. Conversationally, they just like to say prohíbe alcohol. That is the chit chat version of passive voice that is acceptable and considered really normal and usual is this say thing. Yeah. I am purposely avoiding what they call the true passive voice. It does grammatically exist, but yeah, you know, you might read it in a newspaper or a book, a novel, something formal, but speaking, people don't use it much. Okay, bread is served.
Se sirve el pan.
Se sirve.
El
Se
pan
sirve
con cena.
pan.
Just pan? No, okay.
Ah.
Se
Con la
sirve
cena.
pan con cena. Okay.
Se sirve pan con la cena. Se sirve pan con la cena. Se sirve pan. Se sirve pan. And notice when we use this se impersonal, it generally leads off the sentence. It is what it's the lead off. It's what people start to use at the beginning of the sentence. Okay, so it leads off. So they won't lead off with
Pan.
bread. Yeah, they'll lead off with se sirve pan. Okay. Walmart sells everything.
Se vende todo.
Se vende. And usually they'll use de todos. You can't you'd be totally understood if you said se vende todo. That would be okay para que sepan. So you know se vende todo is okay, but se vende de todo is just, it's a turn of phrase they use. Se vende de todo en Walmart. Se vende de todo en Walmart. Okay. It's forbidden to take photos.
Se prohíbe tomar foto.
Se prohíbe tomar fotos. Sacar fotos. There are different verbs, a couple different verbs that are used with take pictures. It could be tomar fotos. It could be sacar. Sacar, which literally means to take out, is often used for photography also. I think a little more.
Marilyn, how about se prohíbe fotografiar?
Fotografiar, sí, se puede, sí, es posible. Fotografiar, they have turned that into a verb. So, sí, se puede decir. You can say that. Eso es, sí. Tomar fotos is probably colloquially, conversationally, what would be the most common way to say that? Para que sepan, just so you know. Okay, bien. Alguna pregunta. So sometimes when you see se, it is not reflexive. Sometimes it is not reflexive at all. Sometimes it is this thing, which is what we call the se impersonal, the impersonal se, which means anybody in particular does this. You do it, they, in a very general sense, they do it. But we're not pointing out a specific person doing the action. Okay, bien. alguna pregunta? Any question on that before we kind of leave that for?
Kind of wondering about the Walmart sales. It wouldn't be a plural? It wouldn't be vendetta?
Oh, no, I know everything sounds like it's plural, doesn't it? But todo is a singular noun. Oh, yeah. So todo takes a singular verb, like la gente, people, takes a singular verb because la gente is a singular noun. Like la familia takes a singular verb because it's a singular noun. Yeah. So yeah, sí. You know, todos with an S at the end.
Mhm.
That's a plural form of, you know, all. But there we wouldn't really use todos if you just mean everything. Todo. Okay. Buena pregunta. Good question. Okay. ¿Hay otra pregunta? ¿O no?
No.
Ok. Excelente. Vamos a pasar a otra cosa. I gave you another video to watch, but I'm going to explain part of this. This video here, right, that talked about reflexive verbs and the title of it, I think actually was something like says confusing or what was that? Yeah.
They all were.
Using say in Spanish. Yeah, using say in Spanish. Well, the point of that video, and you know, we're not going to watch it in class because it's a 15-minute long video, but the point of that is that say, oddly, is used in a bunch of different formats for different kinds of structures. So there is no way to isolate that word say, just isolate it and by itself know what it means, or by itself define it, because it has so many different kinds of uses. But what it means depends on the context of the whole sentence. So that's the point of that video. But something that they were trying to explain in that video, one of the many uses of say, they go through reflexives, they go through impersonal say, is this accidental say. Okay, this is a kind of what I would want to call the last lap of say that we'll talk about this
Thank
summer.
goodness.
This is the last lap. This is something that actually was sort of interesting. My daughter had a class where they were doing this at ASU. And the instructor said something about, oh, there's no real way to translate this into English. I don't know how to translate this for you. And my daughter said, oh, my mom explained it as it takes the blame off yourself and it's an accident. And he said, oh, that's exactly what it is. So I was like, yes, okay. But this is a use of say, but it is a funky kind of odd use of say. And this is a thing that I said in my little run up, my preview. It's confusing, and we're going to do it together because often it winds up using past tense. And I don't explain all of you to understand past tense. So if you don't understand how to form the past tense, it's going to look odd, but you will look at the verb and say, oh yeah, I recognize that verb, but the conjugation looks wrong. Well, it will look wrong because it's a past tense, and a lot of you don't know that yet. So no big deal.
And it's
But we'll-
always accompanied by the preterito, is that correct?
No, not 100% of the time, but
It's just past tense, but it can
really
be
frequently.
imperfecto.
really, it could be imperfecto, es posible, it is possible, but because of the nature of what it means, and you'll see in a moment, because of the nature of what it means, it winds up usually becoming, you know, I want to say like 80% of the time. That's kind of a lot. Preterito, it really winds up being
because
that
most of the example that they give is use preterito.
Right. Eso es. Sí, yes. You could, in some isolated situations, use it as imperfecto, but It usually describes something that happened, boom, over, done with. So it usually winds up being pretérito. And we'll talk about that in a minute. That's a really good point. Okay. And the way we're going to practice it is going to be very, very scaffolded, structured. I will give you the verbs so you don't have to know any past tense. So those of you who don't know any past tense, you'll just see what this sounds like, what it looks like. And because actually it is fairly common. This is called the accidental or the unintended events use of se. And what it means is that we're combining, it will always lead off with se. Okay. That'll always be the first word. Se will be the first word. And then it will be followed by, oddly enough, an indirect object pronoun. Oh, so that sounds really funky. If you're a grammar person and you're very organized and structured and you understand what direct objects are and what indirect objects are, it's like, well, that just sounds wrong, but it is. The best way to look at it is, here is a chunk of words and here's how they will hang together. And here's the idea it conveys. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. Every one of these, and only certain verbs use this, it will lead off always with the word se, but it'll always be one of these combinations. Se me, to say that something happened to me. Se te, to say that something happened to you. Se le, to say that something happened to him or to her. That's why we have le, singular. This does not show gender, right? It's what we call an indirect object pronoun. Le is indirect object pronoun. Le means to him or to her or to you. Formal, the usted form of you. So se le means it happened to one person, somebody else. Okay. The other combination you might hear is se nos, if something happened to us, and se les for something happened to them. If I want to get really, really technical, also in Spain, you might hear se os, the plural form of the plural that would sub in if you have more than one person, right? Sete, it happened to you, one you, but in Spain, they have that plural familiar use, so it would be se os, but we won't be using the se os, but just so you know, para que sepan, that can happen. Okay, so these little chunks, se me, se te, se le, se nos, se les, will always signal that something happened to somebody and that other person was completely caught off guard. Okay. It will mean that something happened out of the blue.
Carlitos said that when the plates fell up in the attic.
That's what he said.
I remember you saying that.
Se me cayeron los platos. Muy bien, exacto. Exactly right. Okay. Why does Spanish like this? I am not sure, except there is a cultural element to this. Really. Really, these this is a favored structure when somebody wants to say that something happened to them and they didn't mean for it to happen. It caught them off guard. It was a shock. It was a surprise. And furthermore, not my fault. And not my fault can be a big factor. Something happened, but I had no intention for this thing to happen. Why would somebody care? Because it's a no fault phrase. It's a no fault phrase. So we'll always start with say, but that say is not reflexive in this case, not really. Okay. And the say signals that someone didn't do the action on purpose. So that may range anywhere from, oh my gosh, I had no idea, to, oh my goodness, it was completely out of control, to all the way to the other end of the spectrum of, well, it's just not my fault. Really, truly, it is not my fault, but it
Sounds
happened
like-
to me.
Sounds like my kid.
Ah, there you go. And this is a very, they love this. Okay. The second pronoun after the se tells who it happened to. The se just leads off to say, oops. The job of se in the structure is to say, oops. The second pronoun tells who it happened to. And then, kind of like that se impersonal, the verb is conjugated in that third person. So you won't hear a yo. You won't hear a nosotros verb. You won't hear a tú conjugated verb. You'll hear only the él, ella, usted form, the ellos, ellas, ustedes form. Okay. According to whatever that final noun is. Not all verbs use this. Certain verbs use it, and they're verbs with special meanings. Okay. So here are examples. And think about, these are past, and I don't expect you to know the past yet, but they are past because the nature of what you say. Okay, por ejemplo. Se me cayó el vaso. Se me cayó el vaso. My glass fell. You might say in English, my glass fell, or I dropped my glass. But what it means is, I didn't drop it on purpose. It was an oops. Okay. So literally, this is why we don't translate it literally. The glass went and fell on me. And it won't necessarily mean like fall on me. Literally. It went and fell. It went and fell. It dropped. But what it's saying is it's taking responsibility for the dropping. Okay. Literally in Spanish, sometimes, if you said that as literally, if you conjugated it for yo, it would give someone the idea that you literally planned to drop that glass, that you planned to do it. That was your motive all along. And the reason we don't conjugate this for yo or for nosotros or for tú is that we're saying, I didn't plan to do this. That's what the structure does. So certain kinds of verbs adapt themselves to this. And whoever says, hey, I am dropping the glass right now. Usually when you're saying this, if that's what you mean, it's in the past. So that's why these usually wind up being in the past. Yeah. Because they are accidental, that means I don't know I'm doing it now. It happened in the past and it's over. Okay. Se me acabó la cerveza. Acabar means to finish, to terminate, to end something, to finish up. And if something ran out, and wow, how would you explain that in English? I ran out of something. Ran, that's not a literal thing at all, is it? I ran out. Yeah. Se me acabó la cerveza. So the beer went and finished itself off on me. Wow, I thought I had it. Literally, it's saying, holy blankety blank, I thought I had enough. But oh my gosh, I don't. It is indicating a big mistake, but something that you didn't. I ran out of beer. I thought there was more. I ran out. I ran out. And I ran out does not mean I physically got up and put on my running shoes and ran. You know what that means, right? Okay. So these are singular verbs in the past. And if you haven't studied past, you don't know that. But la cerveza, these are conjugated for la cerveza. It's the beer's fault that it ran dry. It's the glasses. That glass went and boom. Yeah. It went and shattered on it. It fell off the table on its own. Okay. So sometimes, ooh, it might have to be plural. Let's take a look at that. If you want to say that you forgot something, this is super, super, super common. Forgot your documents. That our English phrase that makes sense with this is it slipped my mind. That is the English phrase that indicates I didn't mean to do this. En español se dice, se me olvidaron los documentos. Wow, those documents, they went and they forgot themselves on me. Se me olvidaron. Okay, but what intends is what the idea you want to convey is I didn't mean to forget this stuff. Okay. Muy común. Se me ocurrió una idea genial. A great idea occurred to me. Now this one, it could go in present, maybe, because sometimes we say, hey, it occurs to me. Put it in present, but often we wind up putting it in the past. Nobody says, hey, I'm forgetting these documents right now. You're always going to say, I forgot, past, but this one could do a flippy flop, ocurrir, either way, present or past. Okay. Here's another one. This is kind of related to the caer, fall, but it's more with the idea of break. Se me rompieron las gafas. The glasses, meaning these kind of glasses, not something you drink out of, something you see with. Se me rompieron las gafas. The glasses, they went and they broke themselves on me. Okay. But what it really means is I accidentally broke my glasses. Now with this verb romper, it is really super important to use that with this structure because honest, if you don't use the se me structure with that verb break, romper, it makes it sound like somebody on purpose broke something. You always hear it used, I mean, unless it was a child, a toddler, who in a fit of anger, right? You know, the kid who literally breaks something on purpose because they're going to show you. And, you know, they're angry. And it's a tantrum. That's romper. That's romper, right? But se me rompieron means I broke it and I didn't mean to. And in the normal course of events, most people don't want to say, well, I broke that on purpose. Yeah, same to you. Yeah, usually that's not what we mean. So that's what happens. Okay, so. Oh, sí, perdón.
I was just going to ask for an example with one using a different and how that would mean, but it looks like your slide is coming up next to do that. Instead of using may, to use the nos or something.
Okay, yes, sí. Yeah, we're going to take a look at that. Yes. Oh, okay. You know what? I'll go back to this. Let's alter one of these. Let's say a great idea occurred to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Se nos.
Yeah, sometimes we say something dawned on us, which means, oh, it happened that fast. You just got, yeah, right? Se nos ocurrió una idea genial. It could be nos. Let's change another one.
Like you forgot the glasses or whatever. You ran out of the beer, I guess.
Yeah, see. Oh, let's say he ran out of beer. He ran out of beer. Becomes se le acabó la cerveza.
Okay.
Could that one be turned into a question like, did you run out of beer? Or did we run out of beer?
Could you make a question with that? You absolutely could. The question would be, ¿se te acabó la cerveza? Did you run out of beer? And you are absolving your buddy, saying, hey, I know you weren't being cheap, not buying it. I know. Hey, wow. Are you aware that this happens? Se te acabó la cerveza? Wow. Did you run out of beer? Sí, es muy común. It is really, really common to use this. Okay. So there are a couple of change-ups, right?
Thanks.
To give you an idea, and we'll do a few more of these. Okay. So the verb is not conjugated for the person who did it because we're taking blame or responsibility off that person. Okay. So the verb is conjugating for the item or the group of items that you're talking about. Okay. The person does not take responsibility. That's why we don't conjugate the verb. This is where the cultural thing comes in. The person is really, I am not joking, not taking responsibility for doing that action. It is something that just happened out of the blue to him or her or us or you or me. Okay, so the verb is never conjugated for yo or tú or nosotros. It is always conjugated for the thing or the things that fell, got lost, ran out, a car that broke down even. We're going to see an example of that, although that's kind of a tougher one to use, but we'll see. I think I've got one example set up like that. Okay. Usually the verb is preterite because it tends to be something that is already done and over. If you forgot something, you're not doing it right now, so it can't be past tense, right? If you dropped something, it happened and it's over with. So that preterite part with the little practice we're going to do, I will build that part of the verb for you so you don't have to puzzle over what would it be, right? Ocurrir is probably the only one in that group that might easily be a present tense, because sometimes people do say, hey, it occurs to me that we need to blah, 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 blah. Okay, then it might be present, but usually it's going to be a preterite thing. So, the pronoun after the se tells who it happened to. Se me, it happened to me. Se te, it happened to you. Se le, it happened to him, to her, to usted, the formal you. Se nos, it happened to us. Se os, only as you'll only hear that in Spain, right? It's the plural for the you guys. And se les, it happened to them, or for ustedes in all of Latin America. Okay. A ver. If you look them, here are verbs that tend to be used this way, and I will send you this whole list, so you don't have to furiously copy it down. Okay, here are verbs that frequently might be used in these kind of structures. Not all verbs are, but it has to imply an activity, an action that happened to somebody by accident. Okay. And in the dictionary, it would be listed with a le, not a se at the end, but a se le. So this is how it would look if you looked it up in a dictionary. Okay, out of context. So, para que sepan, just so you know, in a dictionary, they could list it this way. So, olvidarse le, that le is just sort of generic, yeah. To forget something. To forget something and you didn't mean to forget it. Acabársele, to run out of something, meaning, oh my gosh, you got nothing left of that item and you had no clue. Ocurrírsele, to occur to someone, an idea, a thing, an abstract thing occurs to someone, a thought occurs to someone, right? Caérsele, to drop. And actually there's another one that is used for that, but that's okay. Caer is to fall, right? So if something went and fell. Rompérsele, to break. And this one is super, super common. again, if you use romper, just romper, it indicates intention. And I have actually heard videos where they say, yeah, don't use romper by itself, because then it means you meant to break that thing. You meant to do it. And people might take it the wrong way, like, wow, what a jerk that guy is. He meant to, it does literally mean he meant to do it. Perdérsele, to lose something. And quedársele, to leave something behind, and you didn't mean to. Okay. This one is difficult, but this is used for mechanical things. Appliances, cars. Oh, this is used to talk about cars. Descomponer means to decompose itself. And if you want to say that the car broke down, this is what is used. Bien. And this is how it winds up sounding, because descomponer is a hard thing for you to know how to conjugate. Here's how you will hear it. Se me descompuso la cámara. My camera broke down. Yeah, it just like isn't working. It's like all funky. And, you know, now people have more electric cameras or cameras on their phones, right? So the electronic thing is digital cameras are more common. Se me descompuso means camera, it's totally broken down. Okay. Or, I could put in here, this is probably the most common thing. Se me descompuso el carro. The car went and broke itself down on me. Not my fault that the car broke down. Heavens, I wouldn't have forgotten to service anything on that car. No, it just went and it busted. And it doesn't work. Se me descompuso el carro. My car broke down on me. Se me descompusieron las máquinas. If we talk about machines, yeah. Machines broke down. So they wind up being passed quite often. So let's just play with the two little pronoun parts, and I'll do the verb part for you. If the idea you want to say is, wow, a great solution occurred to me.
Se me
Ocurrió
una gran solución.
una gran solución. Bien. Se me ocurrió un proyecto. A project just came to me. Sí, se me ocurrió la respuesta del problema. The answer for this problem just occurred to me. Se me ocurrió. And the ocurrió, the past part, I wouldn't expect you to know, but you do know that a se me will mean it happened to me. Okay. Did you leave your wallet at home? And quedar would mean left it behind. So, se te quedó tu cartera en casa. And if you ask that, it means you're not saying, hey, you cheap skinflint, you purposely left that. So, yeah, so it's my treat. Yeah, that was not your plan. You're absolving your friend of you purposely left your wallet at home. You stinker, you're making me pay. Se te quedó tu cartera. Okay. We ran out of coffee becomes se nos acabó el café. Necesito café aquí. Se nos acabó el café. Bien. Oh, they forgot their bag. They left their bag behind. They forgot their bag.
Se les
olvidó su bolsa. But olvidó has to be singular because that bag went and it forgot itself on them. Yeah, se les olvidó su bolsa. They forgot their bag. Yeah, you know, somebody runs out of the store and they didn't grab everything. Okay, there's that one last thing that was left behind. I lost my passport.
Se me perdió mi pasaporte.
Se me perdió mi pasaporte. The passport went and got itself lost on me. Se me perdió mi pasaporte. Bien. And this one really super important because it means I didn't have a fit of anger and purposely do it. I broke the bottles.
Se me rompieron
Se me rompieron las botellas. Se me rompieron las botellas. Sí, exacto. That's exactly right. Okay. Bien.
And
Bien.
So this is kind of the mystery say that when people hear this say, they think, what? And the reason it sounds weird is because we are not used to hearing this combination. That sounds weird, right? Se me, se le, se nos. That is a weird sounding combination. But this is when se will do a lead off. And you're right, Nora, tienes razón. That whole little structure they used with the Carlitos story about visiting his grandparents, and he dropped all their plates that they got as a wedding gift was se le cayeron los platos. He dropped their plates, but they're saying Carlitos was not like angry and went and smashed them all on purpose, but they just dropped, and he didn't mean to do that. Eso
this is
es.
a good sentence to know when you come home with that scratch on the car.
Es perfecto, sí. But you know that, yeah, eso es. That is exactly right. And it is a cultural thing of just saying, I didn't mean to do this, and it is not my fault. Literally, that is what it means. Okay, wow. Que sabía, who knew? English does not have this kind of thing. Well, we do. We say, you know, I didn't do it
And-
on purpose.
Mhm.
I didn't mean to. Actually, there's another way to say I didn't mean to, but you know, this is kind of an easy way to do that. Okay. A ver, muy bien. So we're gonna move on here. I'm going to give you a little assignment relating to the word se, and it's going to be an easy assignment, but we'll watch a very short video to explain. It's going to be a special verb that we actually use a lot. And after we watch this little video, I'll tell you what your assignment is. It's fácil, it's easy, and it's fun because it's kind of a show and tell assignment. But momentito. Got to adjust all my screens. Okay. A ver. Okay. Esto es fácil. Some verbs being reflexive, and we're going to go back to that world of true reflexives for a minute. This is a kind of a special reflexive verb, and it's something that is quite useful because many times when we're sharing ideas about something we saw, something we read, we use this idea a lot, and it won't translate literally, but we're going to learn about se trata, or ¿de qué se trata? ¿De qué se trata? Tratar without the se, tratar, means to try something or to treat somebody a certain way. Okay. Tratar can mean, tratar without the se can mean to attempt, try as an attempt. Okay. Not try as in, oh, I'll try this little hors d'oeuvre, but well, oh, I'll try to finish pulling those weeds. I'll try to get down to the post office today. I'll try to go to the post office. That kind of try. Tratar by itself can mean try, but tratarse has a special meaning, and it doesn't take long to explain.
Okay, so here is a very helpful phrase in Spanish. You might have wanted to say this before, but you didn't know how to say it. So the phrase is, what's it about?
What's it about? It's going to take care of that word about, even though it's a verb. Okay, what's it about? And we'll use the word about, really.
What's it about? You could be asking about a movie, for example. Hey, what's that movie about? Okay, here's the phrase in Spanish. ¿De qué se trata? ¿De qué se trata? ¿De qué se trata esa película? What's that movie about? And then the answer is se trata de, it's about whatever it's about. So se trata de dos amigos. It's about two friends. Se trata de una familia en vacaciones. It's about a family on vacation. So there's the formula if you want to ask, what's it about? It's about blank. Don't forget to go in the description below.
Okay, eso es todo. Wow, muy fácil. So that's very, very short, very, very easy. Okay, so the little assignment I am going to give you is for next week, I want you to kind of prep talking about any two things. Any two things. And it could be a movie, could be a book, could be a magazine article. Yeah, it could be an article out of, whatever, magazine or a newspaper or something. But it has to be brief to use the se trata. So in other words, when I ask you to do this, don't prepare a great big long, here's the whole plot of the movie. Okay. Breve, keep it brief. So I'll show you what I mean. Por ejemplo, momentito, tengo que, busco un libro. Regreso dentro de un minuto. I'll be back in just a minute. I should have had this ready earlier.
Where is Cindy going? And where is she? I thought that was a screensaver.
I know.
That's Marilyn.
Looking for a job, maybe.
We're looking for Cindy,
I
Marilyn.
know. There she is.
Oh,
She's in a real
there
place.
she goes. Okay.
There she goes.
Por ejemplo, y perdón.
It's a golf ball.
Oh,
Disculpa. Oh, una pelota de golf. Wow. Okay. Okay. Se trata de. Now, here's a nice thing. You are not going to conjugate this into a yo or tú or nosotros. Wow. It's always going to be se trata, se trata. Por ejemplo, sí. Esta novela
No.
se trata de aventuras en Vieja California. It's about old time adventures in California, old California. Zorro. ¿Sí? Bien? Okay. So notice, I'm not giving, you're not preparing, oh, he did this, he did that. No. You want like the real general thing, okay? Algo muy general. O, por ejemplo, la ciudad de las bestias. Bien, sí. Esta novela, este libro, se trata de aventuras misteriosas, aventuras sobrenaturales, supernatural events, ¿sí? En las Amazonas, in the Amazon. Eso es todo. That's it. That's it, right? If you were going to describe Fantasia, the movie Fantasia, ¿sí? La película Fantasia se trata de... ¿se trata de qué? Se trata de muchas historias para niños. Muchas historias, ¿sí? de niños, de los niños, ¿sí? Eso es. That's it. So you're
Not
keeping
many.
it super limited, not retelling the whole plot, okay? But se trata de, super useful for movies, for, any kind of reading material. So what I want you to do is to come prepared to talk about 2 items. It might be a TV show, it might be a movie, it might be a book, it might be, it could be a long article out of a newspaper, or, something that you consider important. Okay. Bien? See?
Sí.
Exacto. So bring it on. Well, if you haven't got it, at least, tell us what it is. It might not be a translatable title, which is okay. If you chose to talk about a movie, Field of Dreams, don't try to translate Field of Dreams. Leave it in the English title. Okay. Field of Dreams se trata del béisbol, pero con fantasmas, baseball with ghosts. Okay. That's like, wow, that's already giving a spoiler. Yeah. But entienden, no, you get it, right? See?
Yes.
Okay.
Sí.
And bring something on. And it's a fun show and tell thing to do, to give you a chance to talk about something. Okay. Muy bien. Fantástico. Bueno. Okay. A menos que tengan otras ideas, unless you guys have other ideas, I wanted to go back a little bit to this shortened adjective thing again. ¿Está bien? Is that okay? Okay. And expand upon that a little. I found kind of a fun video that you will watch for homework, that will show lots of examples of that, because a couple of these shorty adjectives, we're really shifting gears here, but we're talking about these little adjectives that get shortened. Yeah, see.
Ah,
Eso
sí.
es. Yeah, all these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bueno, buen, right? Malo to mal. Because you really need to hear a lot of examples. And actually, this came up not as an afterthought, but because folks in the group said, oh, I keep hearing examples of these, and gee, they're kind of confusing. Why does that get shortened, and how do I know if I need to do that? Well, okay, so we're going to refresh your memory, and what we're refreshing is that the shortened, not all adjectives get a shortened or shorty form. Okay, a truncated form where we drop a letter, or sometimes more than one letter, off the end. Not all adjectives have that. Rojo never gets shortened, right? Alto never gets shortened. Interesante does not get shortened. But some of these adjectives just do. And you should be prepared for when they happen, or when you hear them happen. And really listening to a story will let you hear naturally more examples of when that happens. These happen when the adjective is paired up with a masculine singular noun, and it has to be paired directly in front of a masculine singular noun in order to use that shortened adjective. So we can't say un chico buen, good boy. It has to be un buen chico, un buen chico. Bueno has to be in front of that word chico, and chico has to be talking about one masculine thing, singular, okay? Un buen chico, un buen hombre, un buen bistec, a good steak. Quiero un buen bistec. I want a good steak, right? Bien. And the same thing happens with mal. Okay, we only shorten it to mal as an adjective, because remember, mal can also be an adverb. Okay. Él juega muy mal al fútbol. Wow, he plays soccer really badly. It's not badly, but it is bad, right? Mal has to be in front of, directly in front of the noun. Okay, and it has to be masculine singular noun. So, un mal accidente, a bad accident, yeah. Even if something as simple as that word un, or something as simple as that word first, yeah. Primero shortened to primer, tercero shortened to tercer. Cualquiera, that one's a little bit complicated, but hopefully we'll show you some examples maybe next week. Shortened to cualquier. Here are the two that we want to focus on a little bit, because these are actually pretty common, and you'll hear them thrown around a lot. And I believe the video focuses, does it use ningún? I think it does use ningún as well. Algún and ningún. And these are kind of special because they're bookends, they're son opuestos, they're opposites of each other. So that's the reason I want to talk about these a little bit. You do hear them quite a lot. Algún can be kind of synonymous, kind of, with that idea of un, algún, but algún is a little more general, meaning some, anything in that group. But you will hear algún used both as algún, the shortened form, and alguno. And it's used with alguno when it's not paired up with a noun at all. When it's not paired up with a noun at all. And that's why you're going to have the video to look at examples of that. And I'll show you some examples as well to get you prepped for that. Ningún will be kind of, and the reason I wanted to look at these both is that, like I said, they're kind of bookends, they're opposites of each other. Ningún indicates the opposite idea, and it means none at all. None. Or lots of times in English, we say not any. We say not any, but I don't need two words to say that in Spanish. It'll be ningún if it's the masculine singular form. Ninguno if it stands alone without a noun at all. So let's actually, I did want to show you a little video about that because I think this might help. And she does this all in Spanish. So, no eso, eso no es. I'm thinking this might be kind of helpful to watch. Before we do that, I'll show you some examples, concrete, like screen-wise. Can you guys see the screen? See?
Sí.
Sí, bien. Okay, por ejemplo. Por ejemplo, let's look at the algún side of things. Popped me out of my keyboard. Algún. So the actual long form of this is alguno. And the shortened form is algún. But you should know there's a feminine form of this. It will be, ¿cuál es? What is that? Alguna, right? And it might get a plural form. Algunos or algunas. Okay. So that word, here's the shorty version, algún, right? We're going to show how you might hear that. You know, your kid or grandkid or whoever is looking frustrated, puzzling over their chemistry book or their physics book or something like that. And they're grumbling and grunting and figuring problems they can't figure. And you ask them, ¿Hay algún problema? Is there some problem? Is there some kind of problem here? So this form means some, and it might be kind of. Is there some kind of problem here, right? It might imply that kind of idea. It might not. ¿Hay algún problema? Okay, so it's got to be algún problema. Problema is a fuller, spoiler word. So I picked this on purpose because problema es muy común. This is a very common word to use. And sadly, it is a masculine word, even though that at the end is a fuller, right? It is never okay to say tengo una problema. That sounds very wrong to them. Tengo un problema. Okay. Hay algún problema. It's got to be algún because problema happens to be a masculine singular noun. Por ejemplo. Esto sí también muy común. This is also very common. Algún día, someday, and again, sadly, día is a fuller word, right? Día no es la día, el día, masculino, una palabra masculina. Algún día voy a comprar un Tesla. Algún día voy a comprar un Tesla. One day. Yeah, someday.
I hope not.
Yeah, and it's off there in the future, right? Someday. Algún is not does not carry a very specific idea, does it? It carries some as, like a general, vague, fuzzy kind of idea. See? But it's got to be in front of a masculine singular noun right in front of it to use that shortened form, algún día. See? Por ejemplo, and if you're talking about a feminine thing, we cannot use the shortened form. So a teacher often asks, ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Now there is a true feminine.
I have a question.
¿Hay alguna pregunta? Yeah. Is there, and this is a really common thing. People will very seldom say, hay una pregunta. Is there one question? They'll say, hey, is there some question out there? Because what they mean is they don't know what you might ask. They don't know what's coming, right? It's some in the most general idea of some. It's an abstract thing. I don't even know what kind of questions. Maybe I didn't make something clear. I don't even know what isn't clear. So I'm just throwing it out there. We're opening up the floor. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Is there any kind of question? ¿Hay alguna pregunta? But then it has to be alguna. Okay? Yeah? So it's only going to flip to alguno, a full form, if it doesn't work with a noun. And you'll see in the video how that happens. And I think in this shorter, you'll see in the story video for sure how that happens. Okay, a ver, momentito. I think this is going to be helpful, and I might have to do some little translation because she does a lot of this in Spanish, but here we go.
Right.
¿Cómo estás? Yo soy Ana y en este video te voy a explicar cuál es la diferencia entre algún, alguno y alguno de.
Ooh, and sometimes we use a de.
Yes.
¿Has escuchado estas palabras?
Have you heard these
Una
words?
parte de hablar español mejor es aprender a usar estas palabras chiquitas.
Yeah, learning to use these itty bitty words. Chiquitas means itty bitty, really small.
De una mejor manera
Using
para
them
no
better.
cometer errores. Y bueno, resulta que muchos hablantes o estudiantes de español
Many Spanish
cometen
speakers
errores
make
entre
mistakes
algún y alguno
between algún,
principalmente,
alguno.
pero te voy a explicar la diferencia para que ahora tú puedas usarlos correctamente. Si eres nuevo aquí, bienvenido. Te recomiendo que te suscribas. Aquí tenemos videos en español cada semana en vivo.
And let's cut to the chase.
Estás
Okay.
viéndonos otra vez, si ya eres parte de los hambrientos del español, muchas gracias por estar aquí y vamos a comenzar con la lección de hoy. La palabra alguno es una palabra que se usa con sus
Oh, es una palabra que se usa as a word that is used. Oh my goodness, se usa, is used. There is that se impersonal. It's used with nouns,
sustantivos,
sustantivos.
es decir, cosas
It's used with
masculinas.
things.
Entonces, si tienes la palabra libro y tienes la palabra fuente, la fuente es femenino, así que no se usa alguno. Pero libro, el libro, es una palabra masculina, entonces necesitas alguno. Sin embargo, hay una regla de gramática un
grammar
poquito
rule,
extraña
and it's a
que
little weird
necesitas conocer.
that you need to know
Cuando
about.
yo estoy usando la palabra alguno y después de esta palabra yo voy a decir el nombre del objeto, por ejemplo, libro o perro, yo no puedo decir alguno. Entonces es incorrecto decir alguno libro.
No,
Que por
we
cierto
can't
se
say
puede
that.
traducir como any o one book. Lo correcto es eliminar la letra O de
So
alguno
we eliminate the
y
letter O.
entonces decir algún libro. Nota que esta palabra algún tiene un acento, una tilde sobre la letra U. Por ejemplo, tú vas a una biblioteca o una librería
So you go to
y
a
quieres ya
library or
sea tomar un
bookstore.
libro o comprar un
You
libro
want to get a book or
sobre
buy a book
historia. Entonces tú
history.
te acercas a la persona que trabaja allí y le preguntas, disculpa, ¿tienes algún libro sobre historia?
Oh, do you have some book on history or about history? Yeah. Do you have some book? And algún means some kind of book, and it's just talking about that word libro in a super general way about that whole category, right?
¿Tienes
History
algún
books.
libro sobre historia? Recuerda, alguno no se puede usar aquí. Y entonces, ¿cuándo podemos usar la palabra alguno?
So when can we use alguno?
La podemos usar cuando después de esta palabra no mencionamos el nombre de la cosa.
When we don't mention the thing. So if you don't include the word libro in your expression, in your sentence, you can use alguno, but it has to be solo. It has to be by itself without the noun it is talking about to use alguno, the full form.
El objeto. Esto sucede generalmente en el contexto de una conversación, cuando tú ya sabes qué significa algo.
This usually happens, the slipping in the word alguno as by itself. It usually happens when you already know the topic you're talking about. When it's a continuation of the context of the sentence. That's why you're going to watch this little video about the kitty cat. And I want you to really notice the use of him talking about some cat.
Alguno, estamos hablando de un libro, entonces tú sabes que alguno significa libro y no necesitas repetir la palabra. Vamos a verlo en este contexto de una conversación para que quede claro. Tú fuiste a la librería y le dijiste, ¿tienes algún libro de historia? Y la persona dice, creo que sí tengo alguno.
Oh, I think that I have some. Yeah, I think I've got one. I think I've got one. But the alguno means I've got some. I've got something in that category. I've got something in that category of libro. But notice in the answer, she didn't repeat with libro because they know they're talking about libro. It was in his question. So when we drop the word libro, it's okay to then, because the word is standing by itself, use alguno, just solo, alone.
Por aquí. Creo que sí, tengo alguno por aquí.
I've got some.
Después de alguno, yo
That's a
dije
book.
por aquí. Por aquí es una preposición,
Por aquí
no
means
es el
around
nombre del
here.
objeto. Yo no mencioné la palabra libro. Otro ejemplo, ahora quieres comprar un
Now you
jugo.
want to buy
El jugo
juice.
es una palabra masculina. Y entonces quieres un jugo específico, un jugo de mango,
You
por
want a
ejemplo.
mango juice.
Entonces, el mismo caso, vas a una tienda y le
Go to a
preguntas
store,
a la persona,
you ask the
¿tienes
person there,
algún jugo de mango?
do you have some kind of mango
Mango
juice?
juice.
Yeah. You're not mentioning a brand name. Hey, do you carry some kind of mango juice?
¿Tienes algún jugo de mango? Y la persona podría decirte,
Oh,
sí,
yeah.
tengo alguno por aquí.
Yeah, I've got some
Creo que esta
over here.
diferencia ya quedó más o menos clara entre algún y alguno. Son la misma palabra, pero la regla es que necesitas usar la versión corta, algún, si después vas a mencionar el nombre de la cosa. Ahora vamos con la siguiente parte, que es alguno de. Alguno de. Son estas dos palabras juntas. Usamos esto cuando estamos hablando de un grupo muy específico de cosas. Por ejemplo, si tú estás viendo atrás en la casa de tu amigo un librero con muchos libros, tú podrías
If you
decirle,
see a,
¿puedo leer
Ah.
alguno de tus libros?
so sometimes you may hear alguno paired up with de. And then it means some of. Uh-oh, perdón, we had a blip. Okay. I'll start that back up. So when we mean some of, someone of, like one item, alguno de tus libros, some of your books, you might hear it with de on occasion. So we'll get that wound up again. I'll just let her do her examples here. Here she's got, puedo leer, can I read one of your books?
¿Puedo leer alguno de tus libros? Aquí yo utilicé la palabra alguno porque después yo no dije el nombre de la cosa. Yo dije una preposición, de, alguno de.
So,
¿Por qué usé de?
Why do we use
Bueno,
of?
porque estoy haciendo énfasis que es una cosa
I'm emphasizing it's one thing
dentro
in a
del
group.
grupo al que me estoy refiriendo.
Of something
Alguno
really
de
specific.
tus libros. Si
One
tú
of your
dices,
books.
¿puedo leer algún libro? Es como any book in the world. I don't care where you get it from. Pero si estoy diciendo alguno de tus libros, es más específico. No quiero cualquier libro del mundo. Quiero
Okay, so yeah, alguno de is making it more specific, right? Algún libro means some book, kind of don't care, you know, in particular. But alguno de tus libros, one of your books, oh, one of the ones that are back on that shelf, that makes it more specific, right? So the because she used the word de, we've got to flip to that longer word alguno de. So just so you know, you may hear that because I cannot recall if the story video is going to have an exact example of that or not. So that just gives you the basics that you need to know about algún. There's one other thing I want to talk about before we leave today about that word's bookend, its opposite, which is the word ningún. Yeah. Ningún is going to follow the same format of ningún, also gets that shortened word.
Ninguno. Ninguno.
No.
Ninguno, the long form gets ninguno, but you drop the O from the end, ningún. And you'll notice algún and ningún gets an accent mark. It doesn't really matter for your pronunciation. It matters in written Spanish that we need an accent mark there. It just means that we're punching that end syllable harder. That's all it means to have an accent mark written there. But ningún will be the opposite of that. And it will mean none or none at all. Oddly enough, ningún usually does not get a plural form. So the odd little thing I need to tell you about that word ningún is this. Whereas, we had kicked me out of all kinds of keyboard things. Okay. Whereas we had algún, the long form alguno, right? Alguna, algunos, and algunas, because some can definitely have a plural form. That's cool. Okay, that's okay. But with this kind of combination, whether you're using ningún or ninguno, you will have a feminine form, ninguna, but very, very seldom do you see that in plural or hear that in plural. Very seldom. Why is that? Because if you're saying that there are none, or there are not any, there are not even one, if what you mean is that, it can't be plural. How could it be plural? Okay. There are only limited situations where that word ningún will be plural, and that will be if it's talking about a plural thing, a noun, in other words, that has to be plural because of the nature of what that noun is. Like, como por ejemplo, las tijeras. Las tijeras, scissors. Scissors, even in English, is plural, right? Okay. Unless you're sharpening them, sharpening each one of those separate two blades of the scissors, you're not talking about one little blade. We never take this, we never take a piece of paper and it's like, I'm going to saw that sucker in half with one. No, we got to have the two things working together. Yeah. So if somebody says, wow, there are no scissors here, they will say, no hay ningunas tijeras por aquí. Hey, there are no scissors around here. Okay. Then you might hear ningunas tijeras, right? Okay. But that's because the nature of the word scissors is you got more than one. Oh, por ejemplo, gafas, right? Lentes, which is the same thing as gafas, right? But yeah, it's the two things for your eyes. So it's always a plural verb. Or pantalones, pants with the two legs thing. It's a plural thing. Yeah. So you might hear ningunos used for those kind, but por lo general, generally, you're only going to see that bookend, that opposite of algún or alguna or alguno as a singular word, ningún or ninguna. So if I say there are no cars in the parking lot, no hay ningún carro en el estacionamiento. There's no car in the parking lot. Because if there are no cars, there's not even one of them. And that's just the nature of how that kind of works. So ningún, you're only going to see in most cases as a singular. See, Cindy.
on one of the last sentences, you gave the example of the scissors. Why do you put a por aquí in that? Why can't you just
Por aquí just means around here.
around here?
I could say aquí. I could say aquí, here. Por aquí, and you even notice, I believe even in the little video on algún, she had a por aquí here. Por aquí is very, those are often used around to say around here.
Thank you.
Por aquí means in this area. Por aquí, por aquí makes it really, in a way, kind of more general. Like saying around here makes it general, whereas here, hey, it's right here. Está aquí, it's here. Está aquí. But you know what? If it is like 2 feet away from me, por aquí. Está por aquí. Well, it's around here. Yeah. Por aquí makes it a little more general. ¿Sí? Bien?
Gracias.
Okay. Vale? Bien? Okay. And I want you to notice in the video how he will sometimes flip between algún and alguno. So notice that. I want you to focus in the little story video on when he flips to using alguno by itself without the noun it's talking about versus when he uses it as algún or maybe even alguna. Sí, bien?
Sí.
¿Vale?
Sí.
Fantástico. Ok. Sí, son las 11. Okay, it's 11. I don't want to go too much over because I know folks have things they have to go off and do on their day. We will talk a little bit more about some special kinds of verbs like tratarse de, right? But come in with a topic to talk about for se trata de. It's that string of words. Se trata de. And a topic, but a really general topic. Come prepared for that and watch your little video. And eso es todo. That's it for today. Bien?
Gracias.
Gracias.
Excelente, de nada. Y nos vemos la semana que viene. We'll see you guys next week.